Hello and welcome to Good Deeds. I'm your host Keith Erickson and our guest is Norfolk County Register of Deeds, Bill O'Donnell. This is a new show on BCAM TV that will focus on real estate trends in Braintree and Norfolk County. We will do this show quarterly, as that is how often new numbers come out. Bill, obviously it's always great to see you, and thanks again for being here.
Keith, thank you very much, and thanks to Braintree Access and Media and the workers here for putting the show on. It's really great to get out there, and I know it's a new show with statistics, and sometimes statistics are boring, but we'll start with good news.
We're going to make it fun. All right, so here I'm just going to read
some good news.
Yeah, I'm going to read right off the first statement here. During the first quarter of 2018, real estate activity in Braintree saw increases in both total sales volume and average sale price. Break it down for us.
Well, total volume dollars, what we do is, and it's kind of hard because we have to track residential and commercial, we can't break it out, but total dollar volume-wise, residential and commercial, and again, this is for January through March 2018, in 27, from 2017 to 2018, over that 3-month period, it's up 37% countywide and up in Braintree 18%. And the average sale price in Braintree is up 43%. But again, that's skewed with the residential, with the commercial. But I think it's kind of intuitive of what's going on, and we have to temper this good news with some I think negative news is, for instance, total document volume, which is something I look at the registry as far as activity. In the same 3-month period in 2017, there were 34,816 documents recorded countywide, and it's down to 30,641, or a 12% decrease in document volume. And Braintree kind of mirrored that. In 2017, during the same 3-month period, January through March, it was 1,645 total documents, and it's down to 1,279, or a 22% decrease. Well, what does that all mean? To me, it translates less activity, less sales, and I think that's what the brokers are saying out there. The real estate brokers are saying, hey, there's no inventory, and when there's no inventory, there's less activity, but at the same time, there's demand. People are looking for housing, so when there's no inventory and there's still some demand or an increased demand, prices are going up, and I think that's what we're seeing. And please remember, to those that are watching, hopefully we're entering the spring. This is January through March. You have the holidays, you have the storms. It's never been a traditionally high volume time anyway.
That was my question. Can you break down for what is total sales volume? Can you, how can you decipher what that is and explain it to people?
Well, total sales volume is they just add up all the dollar amounts for each of the transactions. By law, again, the state legislature writes these laws. The dollar volume, the dollar of consideration has to be put on. So they just try to track that. I look more for what people understand. Well, what about deeds? That's what's a sale, and total deeds recorded countywide was 3,753 for January through March in 2017, and it's 3,525 now in 2018. So what does that mean? Well, that's a 6% decrease. And in Braintree, again, total deeds for this 3-month period, last year it was 213, this year 168. So that's down 21%. Again, mirroring what I think is happening out there is that there's less properties for sale, especially on the residential side. And, the people, and we hear it anecdotally around the registry that people are paying more than sometimes what's being listed just to get their foot in the door and buy a house.
That's what I was wondering, because I'm looking at $693,000, the average price that was going out there. That's not an average price here in Braintree.
Well, it's misleading because we just try to throw these numbers out, and you have to take it with a grain of salt sometimes, is because it factors in the commercial, which skews it. Because we just, our main role at the registry is just to take the documents. But, I felt, part of being in the Register of Deeds, you try to look at things differently. It's like, look, we should look at what's happening behind these documents. For instance, foreclosures. It's not quite where it was in 2008, 2009, but Prior to that, they never tracked foreclosures at the registry. And I said, look at this, we have to start tracking that. And, the first quarter in Norfolk County, foreclosure deeds, which is the end of the foreclosure process, there were 68 in 2018. In 2017, it was 69.
You're talking still January to March.
Yes,
right,
that 3-month period.
Yep.
And in Braintree in 2018, there were 5 foreclosure deeds as opposed to 1 in 2017. That's the end of the process. The beginning of the process is the notices to foreclose. And again, countywide, that's up 16%. So it is worth watching. In 2018, there were 168 notices. This 3-month period in 2017, there was 144. And Braintree kind of mirrors that. There was 5 in 2017 and 14 in 2018. So people are struggling. And if you know someone who's in that situation, go on our website, because we've partnered up with Quincy Community Action Program and Neighbor Works of Southern Massachusetts. They're 2 nonprofit.
Say those again for us, because we're talking real fast here.
Yeah.
It's okay. You're getting a lot out there, but I just want to make sure people are getting this. That's okay.
I think I'm back in the courtroom trying to make all your points.
Right.
Doing a closing argument.
Yeah.
Point well taken. The Quincy Community Action Program, it's a nonprofit agency, as is Neighbor Works of Southern Massachusetts, and both have agreed to represent the 28 community area that makes up Norfolk County, and Braintree is one of those communities. And go to our website, because they're nonprofit, and it's great because they give guidance. They're guiding people through. It's a legal process. So you get a notice to foreclose. People are filing actions in court, and then by law, the bank or the lender has to file a notice to foreclose at the registry. That's our only involvement, is at the beginning, and then at the end, when it's all done, at the foreclosure deed. But there's a court process that is taking place. Well, when these notices to foreclose are being filed, or when the lawsuit's being initiated, and you get that paperwork, get on it right away, because sometimes people wait till the auction is taking place. Go to these nonprofit groups. They try to give you guidance through a very technical, legal process. More importantly, they also give an emphasis on financial literacy and financial education. They look at what you're doing with your credit cards, what you're doing with your expenses, try to develop a budget. So I think it's good. And they try to help people stay in the house, but they also have that hard conversation that, hey, it's looking like you can't. You might have to take steps to transition to some other housing. And we also have on our website links to the Attorney General's office, which has some resources available for people that are struggling with foreclosure. So when we look at statistics, that's one of the reasons we track it. People might think, why do you track statistics? There's things behind these statistics, and certainly, what I see is, people are struggling, and we try to help them out.
Well, that's what I think. I think you see in all these statistics, and people are like, whoa, their minds are getting blown, but it actually affects real people.
It does.
There's families out there in Braintree, in the Norfolk County, like, oh my gosh, I'm getting this thing in the mail. Now what do I do?
Especially with foreclosures. Get on it right away. And I recognize, and that's what I love, that these are 2 nonprofit, community-committed agencies. And certainly, they're there to help people, so take advantage of it. And as you say, the statistics, show what's going on even nationally. For instance, mortgage activity is down. Countywide in 2017, there were 6,005 mortgages recorded at the registry in 2017, as opposed to 5,155 in 2018. And Braintree mirrors that. There was 327 mortgages during this 3-month period, and there was 256. So again, countywide, that was a 14% decrease, and it looks like a similar decrease for Braintree. Well, what does that mean? Well, I think it shows a couple of things. One, back to what we're saying, there's less activity, less sales. I also think it reflects, mortgage rates have ticked up a little, and they're still relatively low, but some people might be saying, well, that kind of went up, I can't afford it, or other people have already refinanced when the rates were lower. So things that are going on at the national level, whether it's increasing interest rates, are going to have an effect on the numbers as we move forward with these shows. For better or worse.
Where do you think are people moving out of Norfolk County, into Norfolk County? Can you tell us, is there a trend there?
No, what I see is Norfolk County is a very desirable place to live, as is Braintree. I'm from Norwood. Braintree is well run. It reminds me, Norwood, we have a light company. Braintree has a light company. There's a lot of advantages like that you don't see in a lot of communities, with the school system and balancing, the backbone of our communities is residential, but balancing the commercial development so you have a tax base. So I think Norfolk County, Braintree in particular, but Norfolk County as a whole is a desirable community. In fact, it just got rated one of the healthiest communities to live in. I think the problem is trying to get in the market and find a place to live. The housing inventory is relatively limited in communities, and that's what I see as one of the bigger issues is the housing. And it's borne out in the numbers is. At least talking to real estate brokers, they're saying inventories, and it's probably the same here in Braintree, are at an all-time low as far as what's being listed and what's available. Let's hope that, takes a turn for the better in the spring, which is typically the selling market. Right. I would think, April, May, June, into the summer.
Would you say the buyer or the seller has the advantage right now?
Talking to the brokers and looking at these numbers, to me, it seems like the seller has the advantage, but I temper that because I'm not, I temper that by what real estate brokers tell me. Yeah. You still have to price your house right. Sure, so, right. People that come in and think they're going to, put it on for some outrageously high, price because it's a seller's market. Those brokers, brokers tell me those houses aren't moving. It's the houses you still have to, price it
reasonably,
right.
I drove by an open house in Hanover the other day, and it was like a 5-bedroom, quote unquote, in Hanover. The line on the street was astronomical. I was actually going to pop in just to see and look at it, just because it was priced right. But I think maybe sometimes they're even putting them too low and then hoping for a bidding war too. But I was just like, wow, I couldn't believe how many people were there on that Saturday morning at 9 o'clock to look at this house.
Yeah, and it must get frustrating. And I hear that again around the registry. First-time buyers are, putting in, they're getting outbid. Sometimes they're bidding more than asking price, and then sometimes, sellers are asking for, waivers of contingencies of like, no inspections or no mortgages, and
don't check out my chimney.
As a first-time buyer, it's just a tough situation, and some of the brokers are saying, a lot of people are getting so frustrated, they're kind of tuning it out, walking away, saying, just getting so frustrated. So hopefully, anytime you're in a situation like that, you just keep working at it, and hopefully good things will happen.
I was just going to say, Bill, we're talking with Bill O'Donnell. If you don't know, he's the Register of Deeds down at the Norfolk County Register of Deeds, and our fringe groups. Can you tell us maybe how they relate to these numbers, like the older generations? Are they being priced out? Are they still being able to afford houses? Are the new kids coming up, the 20-year-olds that are just getting out of college, are you seeing them maybe go to more apartments than being able to actually, plunk down a little bit of 3% down payment on something?
Yeah, and some of that may not be, just a function of statistics. It's just trends. Some of the younger people are, going into Boston, or, staying there longer, enjoying themselves. Maybe not getting married as early as other people did years ago. Yeah. But it is a factor too, because you see people people who might want to be downsizing. They're selling their house thinking they're going to downsize into a condo, and the condo is not that, it might not be quite where their house is, but they're like, wait a minute, I'm not supposed to be taking on debt when I'm downsizing. So it's a factor in that regard that, if you're selling a house, you have to look somewhere, and some of the prices are high, and I've heard that from older people, like, well, why am I going to sell my house? Because if I downsized, I'm getting less space, and I'm paying just about what my house is worth. So it's a factor, I think, in general. So.
Tell us a little bit about what are factors for people staying or leaving Braintree, do you think?
Oh, I think like anything, I think Braintree is a desirable place. It's well run. And people look at the school system. I think people look at the tax rate, and that's always, trying to balance the residential with the commercial. In other parts of Norfolk County, you have areas that don't have any commercial base, and you hear people saying, "Oh, my taxes are through the roof because the residential bears the burden of it." So, I think it's a balance like everything, and I think Norfolk County is a desirable place to live. There's some great communities, great community-based. People look for the other things: raising a kid, coaching sports. Braintree has a great sports history. So there's a lot of factors like that people look at, and I think just being close to Boston. In other parts of the county, Braintree, you can hop a train or drive to Boston very close. In other parts of the county, you can take the subway. Brookline's part of Norfolk County, being so close. So I think Norfolk County has a lot of desirability and will still be a good place to live.
I was just reading the Braintree Forum, not only this morning, but a day ago, and they were talking about how the Braintree Lottery is moving to Dorchester, big business here. I'd say a couple hundred jobs there as well. How is the commercial market, do you think, in Braintree? Is it solid, or do you see trends moving commercial business out of Braintree? Is it tough to say based on some of the numbers that we've been getting?
Yeah, that's kind of tough to say. Braintree, it's near the highways, and just because one department leaves, the lottery, and some people are saying that wasn't a good decision. So the unions are unhappy with it. So that doesn't mean it's not a great place to do business in Braintree. But it's like everything. The numbers be a watching, and we'll see what happens in the future.
Let's talk a little bit about the Homestead Act. I know we've brought this up on a previous show, but can you tell us a little bit about that and the activity surrounding the Homestead Act when it comes to the Register of Deeds? Okay,
sure. The Homestead is written into state law by the legislature, and really it's a great consumer protection. Hopefully you never need it, but people have a right in Massachusetts to declare an estate a homestead for your principal residence. And when I first became registered, it was $300,000 worth of protection. It's been increased by your state legislators to $500,000, and it's well worth getting. You execute it by signing a document. If you own it with your spouse, you and your spouse have to sign it in front of a notary. The filing fee is set by the state legislature of $36. Which is relatively modest compared to some of the other fees. And it just gives you protection, and it protects against other things too. If you have a homestead recorded, it protects against the proceeds of the sale of your house, again for a limited period of time, 1 year. Or if your house burnt down and you got an insurance check, if you had a homestead recorded, it protects the proceeds of that check so creditors can't swoop in while you're trying to rebuild your house. So it's a good consumer protection, and there's a lot of activity at the registry, and to me, whether it's a slow period as we've seen statistically or when it gets busier, when you buy a house, make sure you put the homestead on. Okay. And we have people who bought their house years ago that suddenly with the shows like this that are educating people coming in and saying, hey, I never knew about the homestead, and they're putting it on. So you should take the time to make sure there's a homestead. And once you file it, if you filed it today and it's valid, it's valid while you own your property. You don't have to keep refiling it if they increase the protection. But if you downsize, like we talked earlier, and you buy a new condo, make sure you put a homestead on.
I also saw on your website that you were talking with Hank Philippi Ryan about deed scams. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Well, they've been ongoing, and it's funny. Hank Philippi Ryan from Channel 7 came in, but she's just following up on things over the years. The Boston Herald did a story on it. WBZ Radio came in and did a story on it. There's different variations of it where some people, they solicit, say, hey, we'll give you a certified copy of your deed. That was for $60, but they'd come to the registry and just get it for $1 or $2. So if you need a certified copy of your deed, come directly to the registry and check your office hours. I mean, we're at the Braintree Town Hall for office hours. We go to all 28 communities. We certify them for free at the office hours. So if you need a certified copy of your deed, don't fall prey to that scam. The new scam that Hank Philippi Ryan was looking at was for $86, they send out what looks like a tax bill. and it says document processing fee, and people are thinking it's some type of bill or fee, and they're paying it to this company, and they don't even send you a certified copy of your deed. They just send you a copy, and then they send you some information they probably got off the town's website, the tax rate, the assessed value of your home. This is all information you can go to your town hall, probably go on the website of your town hall and get for nothing, that they're giving to you, yet they're charging people for $86. So we've written letters to both the past Attorney General, the new Attorney General, and the Secretary of State. We recognize it may be legal, doesn't make it right, as I always say. Right. So watch out, for the scams. There are some good things going on at the registry. And tying into the scam, actually, I should bring up, we have a consumer notification property anti-fraud program.
Whoa. What was that one again?
Well, you make up big names just to sound impressive, but really.
That was a 5-word title right there, Bill. Come on.
The consumer, we break it down, the consumer notification program, but it's really an anti-fraud property program. What you do is you go to the registry website and you can just sign up for a consumer notification. So I signed up myself. So if anything that comes by, William O'Donnell, I get an email. Now I'm William Patrick O'Donnell, but it's you get an email notification.
Oh, okay.
And the reason you get that email notification, I just check. I go, oh, it's not me. Great.
Yeah.
But if it ever is, wait a minute, that's the deed to my house. Or wait a minute, that's a mortgage to my property. I didn't sign that. I didn't prevent the fraud, but I can get on it quicker. And I think that's a good. I mean, we bring that up all the time because a lot of people still haven't signed up for it. They should. It's just an email notification, and I think when you get that email and it doesn't pertain to you, that's a small inconvenience because if it ever did, you'd have to get right on it with the law enforcement. So the FBI, I always bring up, says that the fastest growing white collar crime is property and mortgage fraud. So I think it's just a way of the registry trying to stay ahead of these waves. Now we haven't seen it in Norfolk County, but it's coming because we hear about it in other areas.
Really? Okay, that's kind of scary.
It is because the biggest asset you have is your home.
Right.
And again, we're not preventing the fraud, but at least we're trying to, trying to get on it. And if people want to learn how to do the good news, in some ways with these statistics being low, we're still doing programming at the registry. We just finished up. We're back to 1793 now. That's when the county started, and we're indexed.
Right there on the seal.
Yeah, exactly.
The seal that you're bringing back. That's what I like.
Actually, that's the old seal. I tell people in doing some research, we're actually in the 225th anniversary of Norfolk County, and in doing some research, this was the old seal. They have the new current one, but I kind of like the old seal better, and it reflects that we separated from Suffolk County on June 20th, 1793. John Hancock, one of the signers of the Declaration of Independence, was the governor that signed it. And I'm bringing this up because we are in the 225th year of Norfolk County, and on June 20th, this year we're having a little celebration from 4 to 6:30 at the registry, and people can come by.
Where's the registry? Let's get it out there for the people. I know you know the address.
649 High Street in Dedham, right across from the Gold Dome Superior Court. People can come by. We're going to have a little open house, some entertainment. More importantly, we're rolling out what we call our Notable Land Records Project. So. Again, because we're indexed back to 1793, it's helped us in doing the research. And what we've done is, for instance, 4 presidents were born here in Norfolk County, and I know Braintree, claims John Adams and John Quincy Adams, but George Bush Sr. was born in Milton, John Kennedy in Brookline. So we have storyboards for them, but we try to pick, at least for the first rollout, one person from each town. We had written to the historical societies and commissions here in Braintree. Mr. Thayer was picked. He was the father of West Point and helped start Thayer Academy. Helen Keller in Rentham. There's a Supreme Court Justice, Louis Brandeis, had property in Dedham. So we're trying to tie it to properties and things of that sort. So
that's really neat.
It's been fun.
Cool.
So we're going to have one. There's At the Falmouth Road Race, I still try to run. This past year, I met Sunita Williams. So she grew up in Needham. She was an astronaut, and they're naming a school after her in Needham. But we picked her, because her parents lived in Needham. So we try to tie it to a deed, and found some interesting history in doing it. Again, there's a lot of history in Norfolk County, and if people want to learn about how to research, you could go on our website, but we have on May 16th, come to the registry at 4:30, 649 High Street. It's open to the public. We kind of give people little lessons there. They'll be out of there within an hour, and they kind of learn how to look up deeds, or check their mortgages to make sure their mortgages have been discharged. And so by the end, they're kind of getting, they're not going to be hired as lawyers or by lawyers to do, detailed title searches, but they can look up some of the things that affect them, whether their mortgage has been discharged, or, geez, can I locate the copy of my deed that's recorded, and a lot of people find it worth it.
Well, I was just going to say, you do have office hours right here in Braintree too. I mean, back in February you had office hours. Do you have any coming up? Do you know a plan?
Not in Braintree. What we do is we usually kind of go once a year. Once a week we're out at office hours. I mean, we go. We get invited to community organizations, whether it's the Rotaries, the Lions, the senior centers. But there's 28 communities around Norfolk County, and our outreach has really grown because of the computer system. Because when we go to Braintree Town Hall, and Mayor Sullivan was great, actually came by our office hours, and his staff's great, letting us set up there. A lot of people will come by and say, Dedham's not that far, but I've been meaning to go, and they come by, and some people needed us to record a document. What we do is we take the document. Some people wanted to record a homestead. We take the document with the filing fee, and we bring it back to the registry to record. But we bring our computers there, and if they need copies of their deeds, and we certify it for them. So, or just answer people's questions. Some people come in and they just have questions that need to be answered, real estate questions, or questions about finding out about their mortgages, or finding out if their mortgages have been paid. So, and finding out about the homestead. So look for our office hours. We love coming by Braintree. They're so welcoming at City Hall, Town Hall, and come on by. But we were just in Braintree, and we're out. There's 28 communities,
so get there.
We're everywhere.
Bill, in the last minute that we have left, anything that really surprised you out of the first quarter real estate activity in the report?
I wouldn't say a surprise. Traditionally, January through March is a slow economic time. But the increases in the notices to foreclose, it bears watching, because everyone saw, the economy's so great. That's telling me people are still struggling. And the numbers, the activity is down. So, why is the activity down? Are we going back to 08, 09? I hope not.
Oh, boy.
So, but that would be the surprise, that the activity combined with those notices, the inactivity combined with those notices to foreclose.
All right. Something to watch in the next couple months. All right, great. Thanks so much, Bill. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Keith.
All right, we've been talking with Bill O'Donnell, the Norfolk County Register of Deeds, and you have been watching Good Deeds. I'm Keith Erickson. See you next time.